Introducing Matt today, and he's going to share with us his real story. Yeah. Yeah, you should have seen your face.
Yes, sir. Oy vey. Yeah, God's been at work in my life for a very long time. What I didn't realize is He's been building me for a lot of years. As a young man, I started off age 4. I had fast spinal meningitis. Wasn't good. That was very close on that one. 9, I had brain surgery. Over the 18-hour surgery, I died for 3.5 minutes. So many more. There's probably half a dozen or more times where I shouldn't be here. And grew up in a Catholic family with no encouragement of reading the Bible or getting to know the Lord because it just wasn't part of, Catholic life. Grew up in a home of just fully broken down people with some alcoholism in there and abuse. And that apparently, according to my sister, it was solely my fault for our family being broken. And she stated that in a counseling meeting. At 16 years old, I was abused by a priest. My parents sent me to because they couldn't fix me. I don't know why they sent me there, but I ended up being there for about 5.5 months. And it didn't stop until I was allowed to go home by him or mom and dad. I don't know exactly why. But I survived it. I was so angry with God. I said, how do you let these things happen? You're a loving God, and why would you allow this? So I was stuck there for a lot of years. Bad decisions, the wrong girlfriends, drinking for a short time, when going to the clubs, just bad decisions right and left. And a lot of years went by. Something triggered me, and I remembered what happened with the priest. And boy, was that a rush. I didn't know what to do with it. But with work, with counseling, with friends, supporting, I started, wow, I wish I had that. When I see their functioning families or functioning marriages. And there came a time in 2006 where my mom and stepdad invited me to go to church with them. And reluctantly, I said yes, and went. And it was a pretty powerful moment for me in time, pivotal point in time where the pastor asked, have you ever felt abandoned or left behind? And my answer was yes. There's some deep hurt in there. And he read something to me for the first time in my life that I had never heard. It was, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me. You will seek me and find me when you seek me and all your heart. That day I accepted Jesus into my heart. And walked forward and gave myself to God. I was on fire to know Him. And I wanted to know what he wanted from me. I asked him. There was no answer. Not then. Not yet. It took a lot of work to get past what the priest had done, what who I was, did it define me, and I realized it didn't. But he was all along was God was building me for His glory. And in 2020, I wasn't working due to a work injury. It took over 4 years to get to a point where I could go back and work. But during that time, God provided a time that I didn't realize until it was kind of pointed out to me. I was in church watching, praying by myself, and I was looking up at the board, and I saw Stephen Ministry. And the more I talked about it, I said, wow. And I had a verbal in my head, literally, this is what I want from you, Matthew. This is what I need you to do. So I went through 70 hours of training, and boy, was that hard with the topics that we had to deal with, but boy, it was rewarding. I'm slaying them. Explain Stephen Ministry. Stephen Ministry is where we're going to come alongside somebody that's hurting. We're not there to give advice. We're going to just ask those open-ended questions to help them realize what it is that they're going through and how to get rid of that hurt on their own without giving them that. They're going to realize what it is. And that could go on for a month. It could go on for as long as 2-3 years. It just depends on where they're at. Loss of a husband or wife or a job. And I've been doing that since. But I still felt like there was more. Clearly he wasn't done. Because there came a point where I was going to have to start looking for work after my arm was as healed as it was going to be. And one night I remember I was in bed and I said, God, what do you want from me? I don't know what to do. I'm terrified of going back to work after all this time. And of course I said that quiet so my wife didn't hear me and wake her up. But what she didn't know, and is when she went to work that next day, there was a company in there that supplies a chaplain to companies when they're requested to talk with their employees if they choose that they want to do that. And my wife asked, or was talking with him and said, my husband's interested in that. Could he talk to you? And he said, absolutely. So I gave him a call, applied. It wasn't the place for me, but it gave me kind of an avenue or something new to look at. And so I just I went from there, again, asking God, what do you want from me? It was silent for a while. It ended up through my neurologist that I had to go into the hospital for a 5-day video EEG because I have epilepsy, and also some from the brain trauma when I had surgery. But while I was there, I met this chaplain. She came in and she was praying with me every night that I was there. Over the time there, I explained my story a bit. And at the last day there, she took my hand. She just looks right in my eyes and she said, Matt, I really think you need to come back and talk to our chaplain department. I think you should work here with us. And that was my answer. For what God wanted from me, I knew in my heart that was the time. I was at one of our Stephen Ministry, what they call peer supervision, where we meet as Stephen ministers to talk confidential about our care receivers that we have. And it came up, and somebody mentioned Epic as a place to look at to go to college. A few days later, I contacted Pastor Lane. We set up an appointment. And I came in and we talked. Dr. Ron, he prayed over me. Pastor Lane prayed over. And I knew right then, this is where I need to be. And this is where I'm at at Epic Bible College.
Hallelujah. Glory.
that's where I'm at.
Thank you. We are blessed. Aren't you blessed? It just amazes me. We all have stories, and it's so, and experiences that the Lord brings us into. Most especially those painful experiences. And I'm so reminded that there's been studies that have been shown that our experiential learning actually is developed by the pain experiences that we go through. And yeah, and you know, God tells us that that He makes everything right. That, you know, just like you shared, the God prepares our paths, and He goes before us. Nothing that happens is for our harm. It's all for good. It's all for good. And we don't see that right away. I can't tell you how many times I've said, God, I can't take this anymore. Please show me a way out. And as I look back, just like Matt did, you know, you see where God's hand has been. Yeah, and that's the way out. And there's so many times that I've seen when people share their experiences and their story with God, that God strengthens them. He encourages them. You become the blessing in their life. So this morning, as you connect with different people in this room, share. If you're in a place, in a dark place, that's real. That's where God has you right now. And it's okay. It's gonna be okay. Count it as joy. That's right. Because you will always come to the end. Always see that light at the end of the tunnel. God's blessing. He walks with you through that dark place, and He's there to give you hope and a future.